Hey guys, it's Jaden, and yes, we're back. We're talking about RWBY, Volume 8, Episode 2. We're talking about Refuge. You know, there's only so much you can put into an episode of like 15 minutes, essentially. And Rooster Teeth has found a way to really just jam-pack an episode while giving us some good exposition and giving us a great look into the world, commentary, while still moving the story along. So overall, just running through some of the things that happened in this episode, we do get to see where Crow is, and he's currently in jail with Robin. Schnee, Weiss's father, I don't really know his name. I don't really care because he's kind of a dickhead. So they're all in jail. Also, John Watts, or whatever his name is still alive. Surprise, surprise. Well, that proves one thing that I was talking about last week. So he's still alive. And that's good to see. Robin is just mad at Mr. Schnee, essentially. And I'm realizing Mr. Schnee, for lack of better words, he's a little bitch. I question on whether I should use certain words on my channel. And I go back and forth with it a lot of time, but I'm gonna call a spade here, and he's a bitch. He's a little bitch. Like, just truly, that's it. Truly what he is, and I just question those things a lot, but like, that's just where I'm at this point. I don't think there's a better way of explaining it. Yeah, and petulant little child. Basically, John Watts ends up getting pulled out by some soldiers who end up beating him up and taking him away. And Crow basically finally talks for the first time in the episode, and he's still like reeling over the fact of killing or not killing the Aesop's leader. Essentially, he's still reeling from that. We really don't know his status. Like, I don't know whether he's dead or not. Truly, I just don't. He looks dead, but we don't know. And he's reeling from that. He's like, honestly, we're gonna kill the person who put us in here. And then it panned over to Ironwood, which Crow, I don't think Crow was ever like friendly friends with Ironwood, but like, Crow is not having it anymore. And I think like Ironwood has had like a slow descension into crazy. And I think Ironwood has had that slow descension into crazy, but I think Crow has really just always been like I'm gonna do what Oz said, But without Oz, I think Ironwood is just kind of lost, and now that he has all this power, he's kind of gone a little power hungry and kind of crazy. Either way, on the Yang side of things, with Team Yang, we have Jean, Ren, Oscar, Oz, and Yang essentially helping out the Huntresses. They're trying to get everyone to get to Mantle. They end up clearing out a whole section, really boosting Ren's ability to hide the Grim. I'm going to split this up, so we're going to go through their entire storyline for the most part. And they also get to see that Ozpin is back, so we get to actually have that conversation, that little dialogue between Oscar and Ozpin, and they're really just saying, like, I really just wish you weren't back. Like, Oscar was really like, I wish you weren't back. Because I was really trying to really figure out my life. I was becoming the person that I wanted to be, finally. And Ozpin's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I know. However, we're still merging. He was sad about it, but like, he was still like, we're still merging. And Oscar's like, I don't want that. And Ozpin's like, I don't either. I think Ozpin is just tired. Ozpin is, he's over it. Like, he just doesn't want it anymore. Meanwhile, Team RWBY, before we get back over to Team Yang, they basically sneak into a Schnee warehouse where basically they're trying to find a way into into Atlas to go, get the relic and rescue and get Amity up. Like, they have so many different goals on that side of everything. Also, Penny is really from like her decisions of choosing RWBY and company, because she's kind of like looking at the decisions that Ironwood and that Winter made, and it just, I think besides being like over aggressive and kind of crazy, I think that Penny was just like, no, you're not right. And she kind of is just feeling a lot of like regret and from just that whole entire decision. And I don't think like she should, but like RWBY tries to cheer her up, but like, I don't know. And I think Penny's just reeling from like such a big change in her life so quickly and becoming a Winter Maiden. Like, there's just so many things that are happening with her. Meanwhile, back at the Team Yang essentially. As we visited the crater, we basically see like they're really struggling, but it's probably the best benefit that the people of Mantle are going to have to really just survive this entire situation. And Yang and company get sent out on the mission, and Yang, they end up beating up a Grimm. That's cool. However, as they're about to go off to another mission, some Grimm come and then they basically run away. And then we see like Super Grimm basically grab Oscar, beat him down, break his aura. We're done. Like, Oscar's out. There's nothing Oscar could do. And then he's a smart Grimm, so he was basically using Oscar as a shield to stop like Yang and Jean and Ren from getting him back. And essentially that Grimm kidnapped Oscar, and they were basically on chase with it at the end of the episode, trying to make sure they go get Oscar because, Salem sent out Super Predator Grimm last episode. Here's the thing. Here's what I'm at. Just with that point, I guess they've never fought a Grimm like this that would use their friend against them, but I'm just like, y'all aren't smart enough to figure this out at all? I don't know. It just seemed like it's kind of wild also. I think it's kind of wild because I think this is kind of like talking about like their inexperience, because they never really finished school. They never really had that experience, but I also think it would be a hard decision or a hard experience for any hunter or huntress. But like a hostage situation, like especially with someone who's so important, I don't know. It just seemed a little weird. They kind of like froze, because every other situation they've kind of had, they haven't really froze like this much. And it just seemed kind of out of character, if I'm being honest. But I think it's also proved that like Yang is not the tip-top leader that, she really thinks she is. And now she's the one, who wears that crown on this side of the team. And it's like, you let Oscar get kidnapped. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll see how that decision weighs as we figure out and everything settles down later on. But I think that's going to be a key decision on like the combination of them coming back together and RWBY and Yang really coming back together. Because it's like, Heavy is the head that wears the crown, essentially. Like, they're going through some things. It's not easy being the leader. It really isn't. Like, all those decisions come back onto you. So, yeah. And I think that's something that also Ozpin can relate to. So here's some notable mentions besides in the episode. When I was watching the intro, I started really thinking, like, what happened to RWBY and her gray eye training? Like, did that just stop when it got to Atlas? Like, I don't think she really mastered it enough to really, like, start petrifying some Grimm. But, like, I feel like that would really come in handy right now. So where is it? What happened to it? I question that. I also love how Yang basically kind of called out this racist woman. Well, was she racist? Yeah, she was racist. Let's just call a spade a spade. She was racist against the Faunus. And we don't like that. We're not here for that. But I think in that instance, though, I think that was not just about, like, racism. I think that was also about, like, truth and privilege. I think that was a good conversation about truth and privilege, because I'm realizing, like, RWBY is kind of more... I'm seeing a lot of similarities between RWBY and real life that we're living. Like, the idea of certain people really thinking that because they are a certain way that they deserve, inalienable proof to be like the top dog, the best, they deserve the best. She was really like hyping up basically like she deserves to be on the Atlas. And it's like, Atlas doesn't give a crap about you. Atlas left you here. Atlas turned off the heat. Atlas said, let's run the wolves over there so we can wait and figure out our situation. So, lady, you're in this situation. But also, I thought of this as a good commentary on the idea of climate change deniers and people who don't believe in, like, and just the idea of, like, dividedness. So I thought of it as, like, everyone, for the most part, I think this episode really, like, talked a lot about this, about everyone being really divided and the negativity. And, like, I think that's true. Everyone's focused on so many different things in so many different ways, and they're so divided. Yet they can't come together to really find a solution to the biggest and overarching problem. They're, like, missing the big problem. Like, they have so many small problems, but they can't tackle the big one because it's just so big and it requires everyone to come together. But there's just so much divisiveness inside of Remnant that, well, not Remnant at this point, but mainly just Atlas at this point. Like, they just don't know how to take care of it, how to deal with it. So I don't know. I think this episode was good for establishing Oscar getting kidnapped. Good for establishing how RWBY and company plan to get onto Atlas. But I really think it really highlighted the fact that like Yang, even though she wants to be, you know, this tip-top shape leader at this point, I don't know what their color technically would be, but like she's not, I don't think she understands like the pressures of being a leader and what it takes. I just think that Yang is really more of a brawler and not really the leading type. I mean, she can, but it's not really her forte. But maybe I'm diving way too deep in it, but this is what I do. So anyway, I don't know. If you liked certain aspects of this episode, you liked what you saw, you heard what you thought, you got some thoughts, you want to talk about it, let it go in the comments. I really want to know what everyone's thinking about like really just RWBY as a whole, this season, volume, whatever you want to call it. It's different. In the way of like, it feels like a slow burn, right? It's like a slow burn towards like the huge climax, hopefully at the end of the season. Because if we don't get a huge climax, at least, then like what was the point of this? I hope this isn't like a dragged out like 2-season invasion force situation. Like, yeah. But yeah, let me know in the comments. I really want to talk about it. I'm gonna go. See y'all next week.